So, if any of you have been to the Consumer Electronics Show, you know it's beyond comprehension how large it is, and it's not just like one hall; it's several halls, including the convention center and the Venetian, and uh, there's two others that it's just mind-boggling of how large and expansive it is. So, within a half hour of arriving, I knew Pankaj was there at CES somewhere. And we talked about generally getting together, although we were going to get together later at the big event we were doing at the wheelhouse, where the big Ferris wheel is. So there I am walking amongst all these hundreds of thousands of people, and I look, and there I recognize his face, Pankaj from Zoom, right? And it's like, and we were both walking down the same aisle. It's like, that can't be Pankaj, but I called out, "Hey, Pankaj," and sure enough, it was. Well, that was really funny. But yeah, we have a little bit of a difference in height for sure. So it is what it is. No worries. Thanks for your time there. And as maybe some of you have seen, Pankaj actually was featured in our marketing this week because through Global Chamber, we facilitated a meeting with the mayor of Phoenix, Mayor Kate Gallego, who is an amazing, brilliant person and a spectacular mayor. And when you think about like significant things that you can do in your life, she really was the most instrumental person to get TSMC to invest their semiconductor investment in the US and Phoenix. And that's 40 to 50 billion dollars worth of investment. But by asking questions, by doing her homework, by creating a personal connection, which we actually learned more about in a Global Chamber event from some of the people that were in the room about how amazing the mayor is. And so Pankaj, congratulations on meeting her, and undoubtedly your trip was hopefully very productive. And I think you talked about going back to CES next year, right?
Yes, and also we connected a lot of companies. So we are already working with their funding. So yes, so there are many company we met on CES. So we are working with them for their funding. So
Wonderful.
we are helping companies because that is our only the job profile to help companies who are looking for funding.
So we're going to now start League of Opportunities, and so thank you so much for attending, all of you. And we have extraordinary people who are speaking today. And if we have time, and yesterday we did part one, today's part two. Yesterday we did have a little time at the end. So if you're not scheduled to speak and you have some information, please post it in the chat area and introduce yourself to folks. Also, hopefully there may be some time. Uh, I'd like to start with speaking of extraordinary people. Mayor Gallego, I, it's hard to imagine someone better and smarter. She's just so spectacular and so good to Global Chamber. I can't thank her enough. When I think about really smart people and really well-connected people, I think of Courtney Finger. She had a corporate career. She worked in other companies, and then she decided, I think about a year ago, to develop her own business, which really had been developed because she's a celebrity. She's well known in economic development and foreign direct investment around the world. And so I'd like to start with Courtney Finger because she's is extraordinary, and wonder, Courtney, if you could share what opportunities you have and how we can help. You're based, I believe, in London or nearby London.
In London, that's right. Thank you so much, Doug, and very kind introduction. It's really nice to meet all of you. So as Doug says, I was already in the world of foreign direct investment, but as a journalist. So my background is in journalism, specialized in international business and investment. I worked 15 years for the Financial Times. I'm originally from the US, from Alabama. So if you're wondering what's going on with my accent, but moved to the UK in 2001. Worked for Financial Times running their division that's focused on foreign direct investment. And I fell in love then with the topic of FDI because, and I'll speak in a minute about how we define FDI and what that really is, but it is the intersection of business, economics, politics, and has a big impact on society and people's jobs and lives and communities. So I became very passionate about it. And through that role, I was able to be very fortunate to travel the world and meet and interview and work with country leaders, city leaders, regional leaders, but of course also business leaders. And then, as Doug mentioned, I went independent not that long ago, and I set up my own firm called Fingard Direct Investment, which I call the other FDI. And I still do some journalism. For example, I have a column in Forbes where I write about foreign investment topics. I have a role with a company in the UK called Real Asset Media, where we're looking more at institutional investment in real assets, but the link that has with typical foreign direct investment. I'm a professional event moderator because, like most journalists, I've moderated a lot of panels and high-level events and forums, and I now do that professionally. I also advise event organizers on the content, so how to reach and appeal to and engage senior political and business audiences. So my former employer, Financial Times, is now one of my biggest clients, and I advise them on their international events all around the world. I do direct consulting, and so my clients would be governments trying to attract foreign direct investment, and they could be based anywhere. I have a particular affection for emerging markets, so a lot of my client base would be city, regional, or countrywide investment promotion agencies or special economic zones who are trying to attract foreign direct investment. But I also, in some occasions, work with private companies on their strategic communications, multimedia, producing videos, and so on. I also have branched out a little bit more into typical matchmaking because it occurred to me that in my network, I may know, for example, government and ministries that are looking to fund strategic projects in infrastructure, real assets, renewable energy, things of that nature. But I also know funding sources and organizations that raise capital for strategic projects like this. So I tried to play a matchmaker role. I do not get into the financing myself. That's not my expertise, but it's more about matching projects with investors, capital raisers, or lenders. And for those, I tend to focus more on the bigger ticket. So minimum $30,000 is what we're looking at. And those would be actual projects rather than investment in companies itself. So I don't do so much in VC. So some of the organizations that I work with, again, in developing countries, I do some ongoing work for the city of Riga in Latvia. They do really phenomenal work trying to sort of raise their FDI game and attract global business services to the city, which I'm working with them on. And a very large client of mine is government of Pakistan, which have been supporting on an ongoing basis in various capacities through USAID, the U.S. Overseas Aid Agency, which has a big work stream geared towards mobilizing FDI in Pakistan. I work with Angola and a few other places of that type. So just to back it up a little bit, I think sometimes there is some confusion about what FDI is. So I always say that people talk a lot about FDI without realizing that they talk about it, because again, it's such an essential part to any economy, whether at the city or national or international level. And it really just means the traditional FDI is really a company setting up a new physical footprint or facility in a country outside of its headquarters. So it usually has associated with it a physical presence, but also crucially employment. So it's a job creating FDI rather than just shifting money around. Now, there are broader definitions of it, and it touches into areas like institutional investment, infrastructure investment, and so on. They're all very related. But the real FDI and my type of FDI really is about where companies are investing, where they're setting up, where they're expanding, and there are push factors for that and there are pull factors. The push factors being what's driving the companies to move into new markets, what suits their global strategy in terms of where they have a footprint. And we're seeing massive changes in that post-COVID and in the era of tariffs. We see a lot of supply chain shifting. So when you think about FDI in a real base sense, it really is those companies thinking, how am I moving my goods and my people around the world? Where are they established? Where's my footprint? Where are my supply chains? Where am I making products, but also where am I conducting research and development and so on. The pull factors are the government's trying to engage those companies to attract them, to lure them to their jurisdictions, to again set up that presence and to create jobs. And so in my world, those entities that do that, in the US, they're known as economic development. They're typically called EDOs, economic development organizations. Elsewhere, they're called investment promotion agencies or IPAs. I also have an ongoing role as an advisor to the World Association of Investment Promotion Agencies, which is the global body representing all those agencies that are trying to attract FDI. In terms of the FDI market, just a very brief insight into what's going on. As you can imagine, it's been very volatile in recent years. We saw a crash thanks to COVID of global foreign direct investment flows. Then just when we thought we were coming into a recovery, we had, trade wars, tariff problems, actual wars, geopolitical strife, and high interest rates, and all kinds of disruptions, inflation, all kinds of disruptions that kind of halted that recovery. So the market is still trying to climb back, and we still haven't seen the big kind of volumes of foreign direct investment that we saw pre-COVID, but there are some green shoots, I suppose, of recovery. But what I always say to the governments and the countries that I'm advising is there are always opportunities in that, because in a time when all the supply chains are shifting and companies are really hedging and thinking differently about where they have physical presence around the world, there are new opportunities for locations to kind of find their new place in these new global value chains. So in that reordering, there's an opportunity to establish perhaps a new and better place, and for companies really to rethink hedge. They're a bit more risk conscious these days, but that's not always a bad thing. It means they can make smart decisions about how they structure their operations and the partners that they have internationally. Excuse me. So that's my whirlwind tour of FDI.
Okay.
So in terms of who, I guess opportunities or partnerships that could be found here within the Global Chamber. And I should say, I've been a member for a couple of years now, and big thanks to Doug for always making these international connections and creating these platforms. On my side, clients for me, again, would be at that governmental level, which may not apply to there are some members actually in the chamber that are in these EDOs or IPAs. In most cases, that wouldn't apply. However, project owners who are doing projects, for example, trying to build a renewable energy facility in a developing country, involved in an infrastructure project, an agribusiness facility or project that has a social impact, where there are needs to raise capital, I'm always welcome. I can't help in every case, but I always welcome an outreach or a project teaser about what the opportunity is, and then I can see if it fits the kind of paradigm of the capital raisers that I bring projects to. Those are probably the clearest opportunities, I guess, for collaboration within the chamber. But of course, I'm always open. I'm very active at events, so love to always know what's going on in that space, interesting events happening in your jurisdictions. So feel free to reach out to me anytime. I will. I'm easy to find on LinkedIn, because I'm the only, as far as I can tell, I'm the only person in the world called Courtney Fingar, because it's a weird last name. So you can find me easily on LinkedIn, and I would love to connect with all of you. My website is Fingar Direct Investment, but I'll put my details in the chat, and would love to connect with any of you if you think that there's any kind of scope for a collaboration.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. So it sounds like mainly the best connections for you are EDO type, those kinds of investment promotion agency leaders, and particularly sounds like related to maybe some specific projects.
Correct. So either on that EDO side or project owners. So that could be business people that, are trying to do an investment overseas, but need the capital, need to borrow money to do it, for example. So that would be on the private sector side. Alternatively, because I do the professional event hosting, of course, anybody involved in any kind of business conference or forum, whether that's a closed door roundtable or bigger forum or panel moderation, I do that professionally, and again, can also advise on the shape and content of that. So those would probably be my 3 areas that are kind of ripe for collaboration.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. We're going to continue to go around because we went a little bit over there. And I want to make sure we get
a bit too long. Sorry for that.
No worries.
Doug, just 1 second. We wanted to connect with Courtney. I think I didn't have LinkedIn right now. That is my only drawback. Otherwise, I have everything. So
I'll put my details on the chat, and you can find it, pick it up there, and drop me a note if you wish.
Okay, thank you so much.
I think Cesar has put this meeting together, and he's less available today than he normally is. But I see his name is here. So, we're not going to count on him participating unless he, jumps in. And just want to thank him for putting this together. I also want to recognize 2 other Global Chamber folks, Jem, who's here, and many of you know Jemima, who's been really helping amazingly with the events over the last months, and doing a great job and doing more than that as well. Jem, thank you for all your work. And Sophie is also, I believe, on the call. And Sophie, thank you for all your work. And I think you'll be learning more about Sophie in the coming weeks. The purpose of this is really to make sure that members are connected to some extraordinary resources for their own business, and we want everybody to be connected. All the speakers today are members of Global Chamber, and all people that are known and trusted, and so enjoy your time, and feel free to put your information in the chat area. Let's next go to Kian Williams of Class. And Kian is one of, I guess, sort of like Courtney in a way, in the sense he's somewhat elusive, in the sense he's always somewhere. He's training people to be better at cybersecurity and have better protection for their business. And so, Kian, it's really an honor to have you here. I'm not even sure I've met you personally, like on a Zoom call. So it's a real thrill. So let us know more about what's going on, what opportunities you've got, and how we can help. Thank you for joining today.
Sure, and I'll be brief. One, it's a pleasure to be here. For some of the members, I recognize names and faces. I've been a member on and off for years, but as Doug mentioned, I get around a little bit. And so I'm based in Atlanta. Right now I'm in Chicago. Next week, I'll be in Mountain View, California. The week after that, I'll be in Virginia. And then for those of you who are global, I do make it to Ghana, to Singapore, to the Middle East, and I have some interesting things that are brewing in Santiago, Chile, which I'm excited about. But by way of background, I have the privilege of doing interesting work in a lot of places around the world. My career began in biological and chemical weapons defense for the U.S. Army. Then I worked in technology and cybersecurity at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. If any of our global audience is familiar with the Global AIDS program for the CDC, I was the security manager in charge of global AIDS. And then I did some really cool work to support the PEPFAR program that the CDC does in Africa for AIDS eradication. After all of that work, I found a really good opportunity to start my own consulting business. For the past 10 years, I've led a company that provides executive education and consulting solutions that focus primarily on risk management, cybersecurity, and privacy. While I love consulting because it's profitable, I'm a teacher at heart. So I still teach university students. My primary solution is education-based, but if the opportunity presents itself, I will help people solve problems. Cesar did a really good job of highlighting some guidance that would make sure that this was interesting. And one of the questions that I thought stood out and was worth discussion was the question about the current opportunities and trends in my industry. So technically, my industry is cybersecurity and enterprise risk management, but that also includes technology risk and operational risk and dealing with privacy. So I spend a lot of time in regulations. I also spend a lot of time with board directors because of my academic background and because of my professional memberships. And what's interesting is at the board level for very large public companies, everybody is very excited about artificial intelligence. The World Economic Forum lists harms from AI and cyber insecurity as two of their top 10 global business risks. And while these are impactful, I thought I would be a weirdo and talk about post-quantum cryptography and quantum computing. And so the answer to this question that Cesar gave me about the outlook really is related to what quantum computing is going to do to business, what it's going to do to data protection, and what our members of the Global Chamber need to consider as they go forward. Back in, I think it was May the 4th of 2022, the US government and the government of a lot of the G20 countries said that we have to have something that we put in place to address the risk of cyber insecurity related to quantum computing, because new quantum computers can easily break the cybersecurity controls that are in place for organizations. At the government level, this has been going on since 2022. I just did a presentation for a collection of manufacturing and technology executives yesterday, and nobody in the room raised their hand and said that we've even began to plan what we're going to do for encryption in a post-quantum world. And so my educational opportunity in this session is to say that it's going to be very valuable for all of you, regardless of the size of your business, to think about what data do you have that's confidential, what needs to be protected, and do you have the right encryption solutions in place now, or are you planning them correctly for the future so that when bad people and criminals are trying to capture the data now so that they can encrypt it later, your data isn't at risk? And data falls in all kinds of forms. It could be personal information that has legal requirements for protection. It could be intellectual property, but all of it needs to be protected. It's not something that people are thinking about, and it's one of the things that I focus on in my educational programs. Academically, post-quantum cryptography is very technical. My goal is not to show off, but to raise awareness. And the way that I provide that awareness is through a training program. It's good to see that Judy's here, or that Ruby's here, because Ruby is going to help me share this information with people in Accra and Ghana. I have a partner in Singapore where we'll do some webinars and some other things. But the gift that I give to the chamber is education about risk governance, so that we can think about how do we direct the resources of the organization in the right way to produce outcomes that reduce risk to an acceptable level. It's that process that the program focuses on, not on technology. It just so happens that post-quantum cryptography is one of the biggest things that is going to happen between now and 2030 that puts everybody's business at risk globally. And because I love the chamber, because Doug and everybody have been so kind to help me grow my business globally, this is an opportunity that allows me to give back. The program that I described is for board directors and senior business leaders. If you own a business, even if you just come to the webinar and don't do anything else, it is going to be informative. I enjoy connecting with people. So as soon as I wrap up, I'll put my information in LinkedIn. All you have to do is say that you're a member of Global Chamber, and I will accept, no questions asked. And then if you are interested, as a teacher, I really want everybody in the world to plug in, learn, and take action on risk governance. It's primarily what I talk about. And if we do end up connecting on LinkedIn or through the chamber, because Cesar and Doug are very good at communication, I'll continue to share the free opportunities, because it's more about the education than it is about the money. And so I'll stop there just so that we stay on time and we have opportunities for other people. And if there are time for questions, Doug, I'm happy to answer any questions that people have.
Brilliant. Thank you. If you have a question, please put it in the chat area. Who would you like to meet in the next several months? You've got a lot already in the pipeline. What's a good connection for you?
Yeah. If somebody works or is adjacent to a large industry, large regulated industries get the most out of the program. And it's not excluding smaller organizations. But Doug, I'll tell you the truth, very few people outside of military and government are even paying attention to encryption or are even aware about the risks related to quantum computing. The more we can get people educated, the better off the whole world is going to be.
Okay, great. When is that event, or that webinar?
So Ruby and I are going to do a webinar in February.
Okay.
It's going to be in the Accra time zone, and then I have some other things that I'm planning in other time zones around the world. So I'll
Oh,
continue to keep you and Cesar in the loop so that we can share it with other members. And the webinars are purely education. What do you need to know to be successful? What are concerns that you want to start addressing? What a lot of people are not familiar with is that there is a requirement at the government level, thinking about the G20, that new cryptographic standards are in place by 2030. The National Institute of Standards and Technology in the US has been designated the authority on those standards. Some of them have come out now. For most of the audience, they have no idea what I'm talking about. And the fact that most people have no idea what I'm talking about also represents that people haven't started planning, because it's going to be significant capital investment to acquire the new technology, put it in place, configure it properly. And if you can spread that out over time, it's much better than trying to buy new encryption for your entire organization at one time because everything broke.
fantastic. I saw a message from Demetrius Evans, who I think knows a lot about this. So Demetrius, thanks for the shout out. It also reminded me that legal aspects are so important here. And in a half hour, we have a legal conversation about global law. And I would imagine, Demetrius, you and others will be there. So we are going to wrap up at the top of the hour. And thank you so much, Keon, for all your kind words, all the great work that you're doing, and we will always have your back. Thank you so much.
And if I may amplify what you said, Keon, one of my recent clients had a major cybersecurity breach, and it threw their entire year for a loop, and no one had that on the radar, and they would probably have been better off if they had heard from you beforehand.
Yeah, prevention is a fraction of the cost of remediation. And so the more you can do it on the front end, the less painful it'll be later.
I'd like to go to Jen's next, but in between, I'd like to go to Jeff Smith of Factum Global. And Jeff, if you can talk about the survey, it would be great. We've got a new quarterly survey on global business. Could you mention about that?
Yeah, I have 90 seconds, Doug, and you're missing the 7-degree temperature in New York. So I see those palm trees behind you.
Oh boy.
Rough. Anyway, hello everyone. It's good to see a lot of familiar faces here. Global Chamber has been a proud, I believe, collaborator on the Factum Global Business Sentiment Survey, which we do twice per year. The latest survey is in the field right now, and we would love everyone here to respond to it. It's a 100% anonymous survey where we're looking to gain some more insights on challenges and opportunities that are shaping the global markets. There's a continued focus on this survey around technology, AI, regulatory changes. You'll see some questions about cultural differences as well. And it'll only take a couple minutes, I promise, because no one loves surveys. And the results of the survey will be released at some point in March in a very nice format that we hope will help you better make decisions about your business and gain greater insights into what global executives are feeling about the future of global business. So I just dropped now the link into, no, I dropped it into one of the participants' inboxes. I dropped it in the chat now, if you wouldn't mind taking it. Thank you, Global Chamber, for helping us get the word out. You may see it in some of their email marketing as well. And I'll take just 2 more seconds, Doug. A plug for a great conference in the United States. It happens in the DC area called Select USA. It's happening in May, and I'm proud to say that I'll actually be on a stage this year. It's sort of a very difficult position to get, but my CEO, Francisco Gomez, and I will both be participating in the event. It's not inexpensive, so a good workaround is you could apply to be a select global women in tech mentor for a reduced cost on the registration. So I'd look into it. All the information is online. It's been a great experience, and I hope that I get to see many of you there. There was a great showing by Global Chamber members in June last year, and hope to see many of you there. Thanks, Doug. I think I've used all my time.
Thank you. It is all the way down to 54 here in LA today, and expected to be 71. So sorry about Westchester County. Sorry about all of you. I guess I heard there was snow and cold and all sorts of stuff. So sorry about that. I did put my New York background there. I am from New York. And so I'm a Queens guy, Westchester County guy, and as Jeff knows, Mount Kisco, New York. But my family's from Queens, and that is the Old World's Fair, 1964. Can't see the ground, so you don't know how cold it is. Thank you, Jeff, for sharing that. Everybody take the survey. It's a great survey, and it also gives us a sense of what the members are thinking about, and members and beyond. Let's continue to go around the room. There's a really interesting fellow here in the room, David Geisler, we've known for many years. He was in ag, and in particular, a strong, deep interest and passion, and through everything at silo farming, vertical farming, way before it was known by anyone. And congratulations, David, on what you've been able to accomplish through that. He's now working at a law firm in Missouri, and he is an attorney. So David, could you let us know what opportunities we should learn from about what you're now involved with, and how can we help?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I'm humbled and honored to be able to present to you guys today. And I, as Doug and Caesar, have been a huge advocate and ally of mine for almost a decade now. I was at a company called Silo Farms. We were attempting to adaptively repurpose the old concrete grain silo into a truly vertical farm. And for a number of reasons, I've stepped away from that venture and back into the practice of law with Hush Blackwell. And I'm really, I've still got very much my heart and mind is in trying to help advance controlled environment agriculture and vertical farming, and looking to try and do that in my practice. But also I have a business transactional real estate background in the law. And so I really am just excited to hear and see what I might be able to do to help members of the chamber, both on the agricultural side of things, but also in the legal framework, and just generally excited to see what opportunities may be out there to be of assistance. And really, like I said, I'm back in law, but my heart is still trying to figure out how to solve what I think is going to be a big issue, maybe not for my generation, but for my daughter, and that is figuring out how we're going to feed 8, 9, 10 billion people in this world, in the coming years. And that was really the genesis behind Silo Farms. I remember in one of the sayings in one of my initial conversations with Doug was, asking me if I was familiar with the book 2 Inches from Gold, and I wasn't, but the premise is that that the people that were in the gold mines in California back in the day, they'd beat the pickaxe against in the gold mines, and they would give up, and they would never realize that they were merely 2 inches from gold. And that saying and that thought kept me going for a number of years when I probably should have put down the pickaxe. And while I've maybe put down the pickaxe in one sense, I've picked it up in another sense, and I still want to continue to push forward with that vision, and hopefully that there's members of the chamber that I can be of assistance with. And if anybody's out there that's trying to be an entrepreneur and is struggling and needs somebody to vent to, I'm always here and would love to compare war stories and wounds and be encouraging to the members, because I've been there and I can appreciate the challenges that come with trying to do great things. And while I've unfortunately stepped away from Silo, I'm here at Hush and I'm happy, and it's kind of a breath of fresh air to get back into trying to change the world, but do it in a little bit different manner. But again, I can't thank Doug and Caesar enough for their continued support over the years and their opportunity to allow me to present today. And I'm on LinkedIn also. I'll put that in the chat, but I greatly appreciate the opportunity. And if there's anything I can ever do to help any of you, I am more than happy to. And thanks again, Doug.
Amazing. Thank you. You haven't put the pickaxe down quite yet, so thank you for doing that.
Yeah, thank you.
Jens J. Mobius of Infinity Partners is a global guy. And we're having our first Global Chamber Denver Advisory Board meeting the week of February 17th, and hopefully that works out for Jay. He's on that board. He helps people be global. And so, Jay, thank you for joining today. What opportunity would you like to share, and how can we help?
Yeah, thanks for having me. So, Jens or Jay Mobius, whichever rolls off the tongue better. If I could share my screen here, does this work? Do you see my screen?
Looks good.
Okay. So yeah, good to meet the global tribe, and thanks for organizing, Doug and Caesar and Jemima and Sophie. I'm the founder and managing partner of Infinity Partners. We're based in Denver and help transatlantic, mid-market, deep tech manufacturers double or triple their profits without straining their consulting budgets. But today, I'm going to talk about opportunities for international manufacturers in the US or with US ambitions in general, based on broad trends. So first off, despite popular belief, if you aren't already, you need to be here in the US. It is the growth story of our time. And why is that? So first off, there's an abundance of capital, and capital is increasingly becoming the most important factor of production. The US represents 40% of global stock market cap, but if you look at freely tradable stock, the US stock market cap is actually 60% of the entire world. So the rest of the Americas, Europe, Asia, and all the rest of it combined just make up another 40%. Also, American boomers had a lot of kids, and immigration also helps with healthy population growth. And you need growth of population that has money for economic growth. And the US leads the G7 by far in terms of expected population added by 2030 and is the number 3 worldwide. The US has plenty of land and natural resources, as you know, especially cheap energy. And what's striking is that the cost of electricity in the US is closer to that of petrostates like the UAE than it is to other industrialized nations like Germany, where I'm originally from, and Italy. And the US is, as you also know, the single largest economy worldwide and makes up more than a quarter of world GDP by now. And there's something to be said about success begets success here. So the US economy didn't only keep pace with global economic growth in the last 10 years, but increased its market share, quote unquote, from 22 to 26%. So it grew a staggering 62% in the last 10 years. And as a result, foreign direct investment into the US is growing. But as you've also heard in the news, tariffs loom, so you'd better be producing in the US, and if not, you'd better be soon if you want to capitalize on that growth. This is especially true for Canadian and Mexican firms because they have a lot of back and forth of semi-finished products over the border going on, and those could be hit by tariffs each time they cross the border into the US. And if China is still a big part of your supply chain, you'd better get your stuff from elsewhere quickly. The second big point, AI adoption is now an absolute imperative. And if you want to catch the next wave, better start implementing AMRs, that's autonomous mobile robots, now as well. On AI, I'm sure you remember the phrase when smartphones came out, hey, there's an app for that. And now there's an AI for that. And also from manufacturing companies. And there's plenty of knowledge work being done. And there's near infinite opportunity to leverage AI to do it faster, smarter, cheaper, or better. So here's some examples of what happened to fit on this slide, but feel free to ping me for the full list afterwards. I don't think we have the time to go through these now. So the big topic that's not on radars yet, but where there's soon going to be this COVID moment, is that AMRs are coming to a plant near you, and it should be your plant. So let me just open a video here. Can you see this?
Yes. We're not able to hear it, but we can see it.
Yeah, that's fine. I figured as much. So what the robot did was the most important thing that it can do that, and that's at a BMW facility where this humanoid figure 2 successfully fitted sheet metal parts into fittings. The bottom line is manufacturers need to change faster than ever, but mid-market manufacturers often lack a program or multi-project management organization. So change initiatives are slow or fail. And we see them drive their initiatives through their line management organization, and that results in disjointed initiatives, and that results in no teamwork, and that results in failure and everyone being tired of change in general instead of being excited about it. But there's a better way. We call it the Transatlantic Performance Boost. We make it work, obviously, also across other oceans and borders. You get super coherent initiatives, buy-in and real hand-in-glove collaboration across functions, and fast and juicy results. So those just change everyone's mindset and people start getting excited about change instead of dreading it. It's a proven method that I picked up at Carney back in the day. We won the Best of Consulting Award of the Business Magazine with it. It works especially well across functions, across organizations, and across cultures. It gets you from A to B with precision and cohesion, which is important. There's a lot to it, but a key element is regular alternating group meetings and one-on-ones. So all project leads come together in program group meetings, and then project leads often can and should be your functional leads, or those are manufacturing companies. They all come together and create a couple of things. First off is shared consciousness. That's a concept popularized by Special Operations Forces Commander John McChrystal in his book Team of Teams. If you want to put that on your reading list, fascinating read. Input from all functions is reflected that way. That's very important to avoid blind spots, and it also creates a lot of accountability. Then in the week between group meetings, we do one-on-one deep work between the program lead and the project lead to work through the issues side by side. And we found that 2 weeks between group meetings and 1 week between any meetings works pretty well as a rhythm. And that's how we boosted profits for the US entity of the world's leading fire truck manufacturer by 250% in 1 year. We also put it on track for another 200% boost in the next 2 years. And the entire program is modular. We usually start with a commercial and/or operational due diligence and get all stakeholders on the same page. Then we define the initiatives. 6 is perfect, 8 is possible. And then quick win implementation usually takes 3 months. And there you can tag on functional excellence and/or AI and MR adoption. And then come more strategic initiatives typically. They last a little longer. So that's it. Thank you for your attention. Feel free to reach out for any resources. Obviously, you can have this deck, but I can also add the Transatlantic Performance Boost blueprint with templates, tools, and methods, if that's of interest. You can have the full curated list of AI tools for the smart manufacturer, let's call it. And I'm happy to jump on the phone with you or anyone you think might be struggling with these things and discuss yours or their specific situation and ambitions. Thanks again, and happy to answer any questions.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. We do need to keep moving on. We only have 12 minutes, and there's 2 reasons why we need to stop at the hour. One is we have another Globinar, and 2 is, if you heard some interruption there, that was my grandson calling. My wife is texting me saying, your grandson needs to talk to grandpa and he's crying. So I want to relieve the pressure that he has, feeling like he can't get a hold of his grandfather in 12 minutes. He's going to have to wait. Sorry.
Hey, Jens, one second.
We got to keep moving, Pankaj.
Okay.
Sorry. We got to keep moving. Sorry. CES is behind me. We started the meeting earlier today. We're going to talk about CES February 7th. I want to make sure you know all about that at 7 o'clock Pacific time. There's 2 more speakers, and they're both amazing. So hopefully you can hang on for the 2. Paula Douglas Seidel is the first one of the 2 with Powerful Partners. She helps leaders, including in the nonprofit area, get to the next level with their impact. She's based in the DC area, I believe, right? Yeah, DC
correct.
area.
Mm-hmm.
Great work that you're doing. What would you like to share? We only have about 5 to 6 minutes for you. I'm so sorry.
I can be Speedy Gonzalez. It's all fine. I like to be fast. Listen, Doug, thank you all so much for this platform and for your warm welcome. Everybody at Global Chamber has been amazing. I am indeed coming to you all from Washington, D.C., where I've cultivated nonprofit and association strategic partnerships over a career of several or more than I care to admit decades. But I have spent most of my career as an advisor to the C-suite on strategic partnerships. Early in my career, it was sort of the soft skill, and then later in my career, it became the hard skill. So I'm really, really proud of the work I've done. I've decided to found Powerful Partners to help leaders take a more intentional or strategic look at their established connections and create a framework for establishing new connections. So, for instance, in the nonprofit, NGO, association space, that looks like leveraging partnerships to maybe get to a shared goal. So in the climate space, we're seeing a lot of organizations coming together. We know that we can't solve climate by ourselves. Get a bunch of organizations to come together to move the needle forward on a certain specific issue. It could look like building a coalition, facilitating conversations that might support an advocacy ask. It looks like managing relationships for fundraising for potential donors or managing that donor base. And so that's actually in the nonprofit world, you're seeing more and more people lean into the idea of business development. Early in my career, nobody talked about business development, but I do think that we're looking at corporate partnerships, we're looking at programmatic partnerships, and I'm getting a lot of requests for fundraising. So in terms of trends and things that I'm seeing, I am not a traditional fundraiser, but I can do relationship-based funding requests. And so that's where I'm putting my efforts in right now. Early in my career, I used my organizational relationships to create a global footprint for a quasi-governmental US-based appraisal foundation. So valuations, all basically US standards that we were able to take on a global level. And that was just by leveraging the people that we knew and the people that we met. At AIA, which is the American Institute of Architects, I served as the lead for international activities and also developing a global engagement strategy to engage with chapters overseas. At AIA, I managed a portfolio of 200 plus domestic and international relationships, and that was developing those relationships, it was managing those relationships, it was curating partnerships, all in the best interest of 95,000 members. And so that was kind of a piece of my career I'm really proud of, because it was a lot of different types of relationships, and it gave me a good base to start powerful partners. Lastly, just so you know, the letters after my name, IOM is Institute for Organization Management, a designation from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation, and the CAE, which is a Certified Association Executive from ASAE. So, you know, I'm looking to connect with all sorts of nonprofits, any size. We could do local, we can go global. I've actually worked in all of those. Right now, I'm working with a small horse barn in Great Falls, Virginia, to help them leverage their partnerships. So at AIA, I took architects to the UN. So it runs the gamut, but any nonprofit that really wants to sort of dig into their relationships and be intentional about how they're making those connections is where I think I fit best. I'm looking at more mid to larger organizations, but again, it could be a small organization too.
Amazing.
How was that for timing?
Amazing. Great. Sorry to put you in that position.
You're fine. You're fine. And I have a theater degree, so I can, like, you know, I could act, I could sing, you know, but I went fast for you.
No, you were awesome and great information. Thank you for having the impact that you do and helping others to have greater impact. That brings us to Rhonda Bowen. And, you know, one of the things that Rhonda does is help people run meetings and have more impact across culture. And she's actually already spoken with our global team and did a great job with that. She's based in Germany and she's kind of near the Netherlands area border over on that side of things. Rhonda, thank you so much. And so sorry that my poor facilitation skills got us to the point where you only have about 5 minutes. Will that work for you? Uh-oh. Oh, you're on mute. Or are you on mute?
Now I'm off mute. Thank you. Yeah, great. No, I timed this to be only 3 minutes because I knew that was what was going to happen. So that's fine. Thank you so much for the kind introduction. Rhonda Bowen, as I said, as we heard in Germany, I am the CWIO of Bells. And you're probably saying, what is a CWIO? The Chief Wisdom and Inspiration Officer. And we have a team of people we call implementeers, the people who help you implement what you're doing. Our COO is Anke, our CSO is Elijah, who's with us today on the call, and our CTO is Mark. And we co-create solutions to improve the success of our partners. And we believe in 3 E's: extend, enhance, enable. And we're trying to help you provide the insights and support you need in these areas to make sure that when we co-create things, it's of benefit to everyone. So we work with many, many different industries, but the thing we wanted to highlight today was something that's already been brought up, what's happening with artificial intelligence. But we don't believe in just artificial intelligence, which is what everybody's talking about. We talk about the combination of natural intelligence, meaning things with plants and animals, human intelligence, respecting what we're doing with our partners, and artificial intelligence, which is, in our opinion, giving us the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity in the human world at the moment to advance in a way that has never happened before. And so we're helping also provide insights to people so they can use AI for their best. We have just joined Global Chamber on the 1st of January, so we're probably one of the newest members here in the room. And we don't know yet exactly what everything is that's going on, but what we're working on this year is a book series for the year 2025, which is the United Nations Year of the Cooperative. And we are looking for 384 people to write 1 page each on one of 12 topics we've chosen to highlight on how cooperation improves the world. And cooperation is exactly what is happening here at Global Chamber. We've had wonderful examples of that today. The other thing is we've set up a member-to-member offer on the Global Chamber website. So if you're presenting in a webinar like today, you know exactly how you make sure you don't go over time and that we have a chance to actually ask questions and get more impact. And our ongoing offer, which we also are offering today, is how we work with others to support your success. You'll see that I'm putting links in the chat to show all those things, or if you have a question, I've also put in my email address and my LinkedIn, any of those things that you'd be interested in. We would love to find out more about you, first of all, and make sure that we have a chance to support you in a way that suits you best. And I would now open the floor for questions, but now we'll open the floor for whatever else Doug wants to say before the end of the meeting. Thank you again, all of you, so much for your great support and helping us get a good start here in the organization. We really appreciate it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Thanks for your flexibility. We do actually have, because of that, a couple minutes. And so if anybody has something that they urgently need to share, please let us know. I put in the chat area there the next meeting that starts in a couple minutes on global law. I want to just do some quick shout outs to everybody. If you have something, just unmute yourself and I'll let you talk. Thank you, Demetris Evans, for Global Chamber Chicago and your leadership there. We had a great meeting yesterday there. Courtney, thank you again for, you should meet Frank Beckman, if you haven't. Probably you already know each other, but definitely you guys should be connected. Eduardo Gonzalez is the new board chair for Global Chamber Phoenix. He knows Mexico, and he pretty much knows anybody in manufacturing, both in the US and Mexico, and that's very valuable to have. And he's just also an amazingly nice guy, as most people are in Global Chamber, either a nice people and good people, professional people, and people that are service oriented. Thank you so much for being part of this. Ken Rosenberg is someone, even though he's retired from Bridge Bank, Western Alliance Bank, he's very deeply connected to exporting and exporters and business in Northern California and across California. So Ken, thank you for joining today, and a great resource for anybody that's interested in the international business within California. Mona is extraordinary, and she's taken on a new global advisor role in Florida. So thank you, Mona. Always love to hear your cross-cultural views and how you help people, and I'm really looking forward to working with you in your new role at Global Chamber. Thank you so much. Rich Wolverton is the expert on the food industry. There's nobody better on the international side or even in the US side. So Rich, thank you for all that you do. You are amazing. And he's got a team. He's the most experienced professional person you'd ever find. And he's surrounded himself with even more professional people, or maybe more is not the right word, but professional people that have that kind of skill. Thank you, Rich.
Thanks, Doug.
You're extraordinary. Floyd, thank you for your longtime support for the Global Chamber. You're doing some great work. Jung Lim is with Cultural Vistas, and so they do the Korea West and other intern programs. Definitely should check into that. Some great opportunities for companies to connect. Ruby Golo was mentioned earlier. Ruby is the person for trade in Africa, based in Accra, Ghana. And so Ruby, thank you for all you do. And that meeting with Keon, is that with Global Chamber Accra?
It is indeed, and that will be Tuesday, 25th of February at 2 p.m. Ghana time.
Fantastic. And then last but not least, Tamara Flores, thank you for your leadership on growth and scaling and understand it, helping people scale growth. That's one of the key aspects this year for Global Chamber. It's one of it is our highest priority. This year is the year we're going to start scaling to a different level. That's certainly what our plan is. We brought on people, we're working on our processes. We want to provide more service. We want to help our members be more impactful, and we're dedicated to do that. We're not perfect at it. We're sometimes not very good at it, but we're getting better, and we're certainly dedicated to be better. So thank you all for your support and collaboration in the meantime. You mean a lot to us. You mean everything to us. And thank you for joining today. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you, Doug.